Howdy, hi, and hello everybody. We're going to talk about organ systems now. We've made it all the way up from organelles to cells to tissues. We're going to skip over organs just because the organ systems are going to cover those as well. So we're starting off with the integumentary system because it's the one that you see on a daily basis. First thing that you see in somebody is their face. What's their face made up? Skin. So maybe you've heard the joke about, or like the prank of telling somebody that your epidermis is showing, and then they freak out about it for the rest of the day because they're going, oh god, what's my epidermis? That's just the outer layer of your skin. It's supposed to be showing, probably. If you're looking at your arm and you're not seeing your epidermis, that's not a good sign, most likely. It's made up of 5 different layers. That's right, the topmost layer of your skin has 5 different layers itself, and those are going to be the stratum cornea. On thick skin, like on your palms and this, like your heels of your feet, it's going to have an extra layer called the stratum lucidium. After that is going to be the stratum granulosum, the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basalic. It's interesting pronunciation. Those bottom 2 layers, the spinosum and the basalic, are going to be the only 2 living layers of your epidermis. The top 3 are going to be dead. So your skin does shed on the daily. We just, don't see it. It looks like dust later on. That's why you need to wash your sheets every once in a while, because otherwise you're just sleeping in dead skin. So besides those, your skin has a total of 3 layers. The epidermis is made up of those 5, all those stratums. Next to that, right under that, is your dermis, which is, if it's not the epidermis or the hypodermis, must be in the middle, so it's the dermis. And that is going to be papillary, so it's pretty thin, and that's what makes your fingerprints unique. Fun fact. And it's going to be reticular. And then under that, the last layer of your skin is going to be the hypodermis, or subcutaneous, if you've ever heard of a subcutaneous shot. That means it goes right under the skin, not into the muscle, but just right under the skin. And that's going to be more fatty tissue, and it anchors the skin to the underlying tissue. So just like your tendons and ligaments anchor your muscle to bone and bone to bone, that hypodermis is going to anchor your skin to your muscle. And then, yes. So we've got epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. Epidermis is made up of 5 different layers, or 4 on thinner skin. So it's going to only be made up of 4 on, say, like your arms and your legs, but on the palms of your hands where you do a lot of work, or maybe the heels of your feet where they support a lot of weight and friction, that's going to have 5 layers with the stratum lucidium. So no stratum lucidium, yes stratum lucidium. Other parts of the integumentary system include your hair and your nails. It's all made up of keratin. Your hair, your nails, it's all keratin. But whereas your hair is going to be, a bit more flexible, your fingernails are going to be heavily keratinized. They're going to be hard, and they're going to be modifications of the epidermis. Very important. And your sweat glands, your sudoriferous, which is such a fun word to say, sudoriferous. It's mostly going to be water. It helps dissipate heat and protects amongst bacteria. That's what your sweat glands do. That's on your epidermis. They're pretty focused in certain areas. There are 2 types of sweat glands. There's apocrine and apocrine. Apocrine is going to be abundant on your palms, and then your apocrine is going to be axillary. That's like in your armpit and groin area, your hair follicles. It's odorless unless there's bacteria. That's why body odor exists, because we stank a little at the end of the day because there's just bacteria in the air. That's how that works. That's how your body works. And then your oil glands, that's also on part of your integumentary system. So you've got your hair oil. Just generally speaking, your skin has oils on it, and those are your sebaceous glands, and they're going to produce that oil. It lubricates the skin and kills bacteria. My words from my notes. And then it's also going to be through hair follicles, and that's activated. So oily hair deal, that's apparently only activated at puberty. Your epidermis is also where your hair follicles are housed. The nervous system, that's going to include your brain, your spinal cord, and of course your nerves, the things that make you feel stuff. Nerves. There's your central nervous system, which that just consists of your brain and your spinal cord. There's different parts of your brain that do different things. There's the cerebellum, the parietal parts, and the occipital. So we're going to come back to this as well when we have our skeleton, but there's one thing that I really wanted to touch on that shouts out to me a little bit. So the part of your brain that processes vision and what you see is actually going to be the occipital lobe, which is right back here in the back of your head. So if we're looking at it on the skeleton here, that's right back here. That's your occipital region or lobe. And that's what processes your vision, which I find crazy. And then I remembered, have you ever heard a teacher say, I have eyes in the back of my head? Well, you know, it's where it's processed, so you might as well. Your reflexes are also processed in your nervous system. So when the doctor tests your reflex and it hits your knee with the hammer and, you know, your leg shoots out, that's a reflex. That's your parietal lobes. Them's the side lobes. That's where your senses are processed. Your occipital lobe, back here, that's where your vision is processed. As your temporal lobes, so, you know, your temples are right here, temporal lobe, that's going to be where your auditory factory is, so as well as hearing, and so it's your hearing as well as your smelling, that's going to be processed right here in your temporal lobes. And then your frontal lobe, that's where all of your voluntary responses come from. So, you know, me moving my arms like a crazy person, that's coming from up here in the frontal lobe. As well as your complex learning, your recall, so it's like the quick memory, and your personality. So that's all contained right up here. Your medulla oblongata relays instructions from your head to wherever you're sending it. The pons, that's going to be bordering the medulla oblongata. They're like little marbles attached to your medulla oblongata, the cerebellum area, and those are going to relay info from the cerebral and to the cerebellum. That's mostly for breathing. And then the midbrain, so there's that little part in the middle, that's your pain suppression, so the natural pain suppression that our body does, as well as your fight or flight response. They all work together, but they have similar functions, though they are separate parts of the brain. Your cerebellum has your coordinated movement, so your balance. That's how we get motion sickness, is because our ears and our eyes are telling us different things, or telling your cerebellum different things. That's why some people get nauseous when they read on a plane or a car, because your eyes are stationary, they're reading, but your ears are telling you that you're moving. So it sends mixed messages, and that's why we get a little nauseous when that happens sometimes.